So yesterday was Veterans Day, and I wanted to weigh in on what I saw and honestly what I see every year on Veterans Day. And I have to say, as I get older and older, I get more and more annoyed by it. Usually it's the opposite. As you get older and older, people are more comfortable with the status quo. For me, it's the exact opposite. As I get older and older, I'm pulling the bullshit card on everything I see that's even slightly bullshit. So what exactly am I referring to? Well, there was a lot of empty platitudes and cliches during Veterans Day. People basically doing moral posturing and virtue signaling to pretend like they care so deeply about the troops. Now, there's a reason I use that word pretend, because some people might fire back and say, no, these people might actually care about the troops, Kyle. How can you say that? Well, listen, man, there are actual concrete substantive ways to support the troops, and I didn't see any at all examples of that. People floating these ideas. Hey, man, it's Veterans Day, so why not do this? Hey, man, it's Veterans Day. Why not do that? Hey, man, it's Veterans Day. Here's a fucking charity that I know supports the troops, and it's not some weird scam like some of the right-wing figures set up these scam organizations that are supposed to help the troops, but they don't really, and they take a lot of the money themselves. But all right, first and foremost, how do you support veterans? Well, very simply, stop sending them to fight in aggressive offensive wars where there is no direct threat against us. Stop using them as your pawns in this giant global chess game where, hey, man, they're dispensable. I don't care. If something happens to them, what are you going to do? It's just a fucking poor kid from Kentucky. It is what it is. No, you really want to support the troops. The first thing on the list should be, I'm not going to send you to die in a war that we don't need to be in. And unfortunately, many of the wars that we're in today are wars that we don't need to be in. We're bombing 8 countries right this second. We still have boots on the ground in Afghanistan. We still have boots on the ground in Iraq. We've been in Afghanistan since 2001. I mean, this is 17 years in Afghanistan. 17 years. And nobody even bothers to define what victory is. The Taliban controls 40% of the territory. I mean, it's honestly laughable, if not tragic. So the way you support the troops is to get them out of wars of aggression, offensive wars against countries that didn't attack us. It's what John Kerry said back in the day. How do you ask somebody to be the last person to die for a mistake? And honestly, in many instances, it's not even just a mistake. These are flat-out war crimes. You know, these are wars that are illegal under international law, but we wage them. And people, it's like they don't think about the actual human toll and consequences of sending people to fight and die. And in many instances, it's just for geopolitical gain or natural resources or maintaining our imperialist status as the sole superpower in the world. So the way you support the troops is to not send them to die for no good reason. That's how you do it. I didn't see almost anybody say that. The Justice Democrats Twitter account tweeted it. That's not unexpected. I expect it of people on the left, but I'm talking about in mainstream circles. It's nothing but empty platitudes and true pumping that with no substance, no there. It's like, oh yeah, we support you, you protect our freedom, full stop. I mean, if you're in their shoes, that would drive me fucking crazy. Like, really? That's what we're going to do? You're going to give me a discount at fucking Arby's or some shit, and then you're going to tell me thank you for your service, and then full stop? There's no actual, there's no looking in the mirror. There's no real analysis of like, hey, thing number one is don't send them to fight and die in stupid wars, and we need to bring the troops home right now. I mean, guys, we have, in over 150 countries, we have 170,000 troops deployed. Yeah, I would bring home like at least half of them. And I still think the world would be stable, because the argument is, oh my God, if you get rid of these troops in all these places, then China will immediately take over and start invading its neighbors, and Russia will do the same. There are ways where you can bring troops home and not risk some sort of world destabilizing event and some immediate World War III situation. If anything, the actions that we're taking now in Syria, the actions that we're taking now with NATO on Russia's border, those things are more likely to cause World War III than scaling back our troops from being absolutely everywhere. Now, the other point is, As of right now, there are 39, or excuse me, these numbers were the most recent numbers. I'm not sure if it's 2016 or 2017, but they're the most recent numbers I could find. There are 39,471 homeless veterans. I didn't hear a single outlet that was speaking about Veterans Day bring up the number of homeless troops we have. That's maddening. It's like, oh yeah, we support you and we're going to totally sweep under the rug one of the biggest issues with people when they return. 39,471 homeless veterans. Nobody gives a fuck about them. And on top of that, it would actually save the taxpayer money if you give these people a roof over their head. But we don't. So it's the fiscally correct thing to do. It's the morally correct thing to do. But we're not doing the correct thing, and we're not even talking about it. That drove me nuts. And then finally, there's a suicide epidemic. Over 20 veterans commit suicide every day. There's a giant PTSD epidemic. And guess what? This government and every other government says, oh, we're not even going to allow you, if weed is your anti-anxiety medication, we're not even going to allow medical marijuana for people who are veterans. We're not going to allow it. It's illegal under federal law. It's going to stay illegal. Sorry. Suck it up. Here, take more of these pharmaceutical pills that don't work in many instances. Now, for some people, it works. Good. God bless them. That's great. But if it doesn't work for you, and weed does, and the government's saying we're not even going to let you have it, what a fucking joke. So save your fucking platitude, cliche nonsense on Veterans Day until you actually support the troops and you say, you know what? Okay, we're going to allow it. We're going to allow smoking of medical marijuana. I mean, you should allow legalized recreational marijuana, but at the very least, medical marijuana for people who are overseas and fighting. So you have a suicide epidemic, you have a PTSD epidemic, you have a homelessness epidemic. None of those were brought up. So if you're somebody who likes to consider yourself serious on the issue, do me a favor and bring all of these issues up or shut the fuck up. Because again, my tolerance for bullshit is now at record lows. I'm not interested in nonsense moral posturing and right-wing virtue signaling and empire humping. No, I want to see people who actually talk about real issues that impact people's lives. And unfortunately, you get a lot of the shitty angle of it where everybody's acting like the troops are so great, but they're not interested in real solutions to helping them. And furthermore, if somebody brings up the real solutions like I am right now, we get maligned. Like, I get maligned. Like, hey, sour grapes, he's out here fucking shitting all over Veterans Day. No, I'm the person who's arguing, if you actually give a shit about the veterans, here are the solutions to the issues impacting the veteran community. But again, I guarantee you people will look at this segment and be like, look at this fucking radical over here who thinks that there are problems that need to be fixed and doesn't just want to do empty moral posturing and virtue signaling with words. Fuck words, man. These are the policies that should be implemented. And if everybody on Veterans Day brought up all these issues that I just brought up, every mainstream media outlet, everybody who uttered a peep about Veterans Day, we would see change in this country. But unfortunately, people don't do that. They'd rather do the bullshit platitudes and not talk about the substance, and that's a damn shame, and that's exactly what we need to call out.